What's going on, Chazz?
I'm doing good. And yourself? How you feeling this week?
I'm doing well. Have you been working out still or what?
Yeah, I still been getting at it, trying to, just do enough just to stay healthy and stay in shape. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm working out 3 times a week. And then on the other days, I'm doing a little stretching. I think those broadcasts that we did, I don't want to be a hypocrite. So we
Right,
definitely have to keep ourselves in shape because that's important. And I think coming up here within the next month or so, we may want to revisit that and do another broadcast, kind of check in with everyone, see how they're doing, because I think it's important that we take care of our bodies,
right,
take care of our minds, because that's
right,
crucial to
right.
what's happening today. We're dying of a lot of different diseases and just different ailments because we're not taking care of ourselves. And I think we
Yeah.
need to address that again.
Yeah, I saw a lady at the grocery store today. I go there normally on Wednesdays to pick up a few items, and she saw me and she said, "You know what? You make me feel bad every time I see you. Your cart is full of water, and I'm not getting." And she said, "I'm not getting enough." And I told her, I said, "It's okay. You don't have to, overdo it." I just politely told her, to drink it to get away from kidney stones and stuff like that. But yeah, she said that, and I was like, "Wow, well, that's good when you actually do things and it inspires others." So that's a good
Yeah,
thing as
yeah,
well.
that's cool. Okay, Chaz. Well, we've already broken the ice, so let's pick up where we left off at the week before last, and we're going to be talking about how to combat complacency in the African American community, part two. And this
Okay.
time, we're not going to just talk about it. We're going to give people ways to do things because we're struggling with a lot of issues today as a people, and I think we need to just quit complaining and do something about what's going on, especially when you look at what's going on in Washington, D.C. and the
Mm.
idiocy that's going on there and how it affects us as a people. So I think we can't be complacent and sit around anymore. So before we get started, I want to welcome everyone to this broadcast and let you know we truly appreciate you watching Adults Only every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. And we truly appreciate your presence because you mean a lot to us and you didn't have
Yeah.
to be a part of this, but you are. So to that, we just want to say we truly thank you.
Of
So
course.
having said that, Chaz, I want to say that I want you to read when we say complacency in our cult context, this
Mhm.
is what we're talking about.
Complacency, being too comfortable with our pitiful social condition and not trying to make things better, even when we know that change is needed. Absolutely. And we see this a lot throughout the news, magazines, TV shows, and all these things where we're constantly seen like we're at the bottom, we're constantly getting walked over, we're constantly getting disrespected. And sometimes for years we sit back and say, well, nothing is changing, nothing is happening. I might as well take this. But sometimes you have to get you and a few others. You may not have the whole world with you, but a few others and fight back against this thing. Get into some groups, do some protest if you can. You don't have to be violent, breaking windows, busting out car windows. You can actually just be polite and protest and try to figure out and bring awareness to these issues. That way we can try to shift it because, brother, it is a terrible, terrible spot to be in.
It really is. And I'm glad you said that because even this broadcast, by us talking about these issues, this also makes people aware of what's going on. And so we want you to know that this is an outlet, this is a platform for us to talk about ways we can become better and also stop being complacent. So, having said that, we'll go to this challenge, which we're going to start taking on once you read this.
Ways to battle complacency about our current issues.
All right, here we go.
Number one, have the right mindset. Know that we are in trouble as a people. Exactly, identifying it and being realistic too. So you know what? Right now, it doesn't look good. I'm not expecting this to change overnight, but you know what? I'm going to have patience. I'm going to actually tell myself and others around me, yeah, this may not change right now within a day or two, but even if it takes a year, 2 years, I'm willing to go the distance. That way we can get something done instead of just quitting and throwing in the towel immediately.
I think that's so true because we have to have the right mindset. And the right mindset is basically realizing that we are in trouble, Chaz. We
Yeah.
as a people, we are in trouble. Last week, I think I went on a tangent about some of the issues we're facing, but just to revisit some of that, we have in the criminal justice system, policing, how they're treating us, racial profiling, police brutality, unfair sentencing, mass incarceration, discrimination in legal representation and court proceedings. And all throughout this broadcast, we're going to be throwing in some of the issues that we're talking about so that we realize that complacency is something that we don't have time for right now. We have to really do something, but it all starts with the mindset, because
Right.
some of us, we don't think that we're being done wrong. We think that everything is good. So we
Yeah.
don't think we need to do something. And we're telling you that all you got to do is look at your grandparents, see how
Mm.
they're on a fixed income. They're
Mm.
struggling. They're
Mm.
trying to cut into Social Security. That's going to affect them. It's
Yeah.
going to affect us.
Yeah. And I was going to say real quick on top of that, not only the fixed income, a lot of people are saying that they've worked for all these years and the economy is so bad that they have to go back into work. It's
Yeah.
so many issues we can dive, and I know that's another discussion for another day, but I just want to throw that out there as well, how terrible I guess the economy is getting. Number two, do something to make a change concerning our current condition. Exactly. Don't just sit back and just keep sitting back and sit back doing nothing. You actually have to take a risk and do something. And when I say risk, I'm not talking about a stupid risk where you risking your lives or harming others. I'm saying make a risk from the aspect of say, you know what, this is a good idea. I'm gonna get a couple people with me, and I'm gonna try to change this situation instead of just sitting back praying and not doing nothing at all.
That's really good. I remember growing up, and it stuck with me. There was a song that a guy named Bootsy Collins he made. It was called Bootsy's Rubber Band, and he had a little statement. I think it's true. Before someone gets angry and say that we're belittling them, but think about what I'm about to say. I'm not belittling them, and I'm not calling them out of their names. But he says something about you're nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time, because hound dogs always howling and making noise because that's what they're known for, just crying. And a lot of us are like that. Now, I'm not saying we're hound dogs, but we act like that because we complain all the time, but we never do anything. And so that's why Bootsy was saying that, you're nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. And I think we need to hit somebody with the one for the fun, because Chazz, it's really bad right now. And we have to, at this point, say, do something. Challenge yourself to say, what am I doing? What am I doing?
And I know you kind of zipping through these. I just want to go back to that a little bit. I think too, brother, a lot of this boils down to that if we as people, 3 or 4 of us, because we can't really rely on Al Sharpton and these guys. I'm talking about a small group of people. We need our own money, because I'm telling you, if we had our own little money that can muster up enough to actually make some good changes, that will help us. But like I said, we can't rely on some of these political figures, because I'm telling you, they may look at our emails, they may look at our little letters, but they're not going to change it. So that's the other thing, is trying to get some income. That way we can actually make some noise, because it's going to take money to shift a lot of these things.
Well said. Well said.
And number 3, stand up against all injustices against us. Absolutely. You can use your voice to raise awareness, participating in protests, and even advocating for change. I mean, you have to do something. Once again, sitting back, praying, this is not going to get the job done at all. You have to actually put your foot out there and do something.
Yeah, because, we have to stand up against all of the injustices, because there are so many that we can't even get into tonight. But as I mentioned earlier, and even now, you look at the economic inequality, how our wage gap and job discrimination is something that we face every day. We're the what? We're the last hired and the first fired. You see, there's a lack of access to business funding and capital. We're really struggling. We have to basically make sure that we are doing things that's going to help us as a people. And so we want to welcome some of those who are in now. Chazz, I'll let you do that, and then we'll continue to talk about some of these points.
And I was going to ask you something too. We got A Nuji in the building. She says, peace and blessings, fam. Say, A Nuji, appreciate you for logging in. We got Sister Marie. She fires in here. Says Hotep Kings. We appreciate her.
Now, you said you were going to ask me something?
Yes, about the injustice towards blacks. What is your opinion on this new DEI thing that they got going on? How do you think that affects blacks as well?
Well, because it's stripping us from our jobs. If it wasn't for affirmative action way back in the day, they would not have hired us, because they don't hire people like us. Okay. And so then European women took advantage of that. So now they stripped that, and now they're stripping DEI. So now racism is going to run rampant, because, in other words, you don't have to be hired if a person doesn't want you. And because of how you look and how you act, this is going to really put us behind the 8 ball. And I don't think we're talking enough about it, because we don't have generational wealth. See, when
Right.
we die, we don't have big policies to leave to our children. In fact, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us don't even have insurance. And
Mm.
that's a disgrace right now because we
Yeah.
can do everything else, but we don't even fight. That's an injustice on us to not even have the insurance for our loved ones because this is very, very important. And I'll get into some other injustices, but we're talking about complacency. So we're saying stand up against the complacencies because that's very important that we do that.
Number 4, get rid of the nonsense and the ignorance about our problems. I'll
Yeah.
let you take that as a sip real
Yeah,
quick.
I think you need to hear this, Chaz, because this is something that's really pervasive in the African American community. In other words, we are going through so much right now as a people, you know,
Okay.
and so instead of us fighting back against injustices, we're playing around, telling jokes, acting silly, acting ignorant. We won't research. We won't study. We don't do anything about our problems. So we're saying, get rid of the nonsense. Everything isn't funny.
Yeah.
Everything isn't humorous. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is all we're saying is we've got to be serious, Chaz. And many of us men and women, especially when we get of age, we still have a childish mindset
Yeah.
because we're not interested in those things that's going to free our minds. See, we're too busy arguing, we're too busy bickering, we're too busy fighting as opposed to being serious. You know, we're too busy looking at comedians. You can do what you want to do, and I'm not saying that that's not something we can't do, but when are we going to get serious? Because it's so much nonsense, so much foolishness going on, and yet nobody's talking about what we're dealing with as a people.
I wanted to twist it, take it to a different page too. I think sometimes when we are actually are doing this, we're actually, like they say, we're trying to hide our pain. We know this stuff is bad. We
Mm.
know it's out of control. So this is how we actually make ourselves feel good or calm ourselves down because we're saying, you know what? It's so much going on in this world. There's so much going on around me. I have to indulge in a lot of these nonsense and these practices that way that I can try to escape or hide from some of my problems.
And that just shows immaturity, Chaz. It shows us as adults being immature because there's so much going on. We don't have time to be complacent and sit around and complain and gripe and moan and cry. We have to do something about that.
Sister Mashonda Royal fires in here. She says hello. We appreciate her as well. Number 5, don't just be talking, but be problem solvers. We said this earlier. There's a lot going on. You have to get around like-minded people, even if it's 2 or 3, and say, you know what? This is an idea I have, brother. This is an idea I have, sister. What do you think? And bounce ideas off each other's and take action and try to make it put the ball in court and actually get it to go and see what you guys can get done.
Yeah, that's so true because a lot of us, we talk, man, but we don't do much. So we're encouraging us. We have to do something. You know, I could just use, for an example, the educational disparities, the educational system. I can say that right now our schools are underfunded. Our
Mm.
schools are the predominantly black schools in our neighborhoods. There's a disproportionate discipline rates for black students, how they're treating our children. You see,
Wow.
there's a lack of black representation in our
Mm.
curriculum and in our history and our education. And nobody's talking about this. And we're saying we're being complacent. It's like that frog that you sit in a pot of water. You don't boil the water. You put the frog in the water and you turn up the heat very slowly. And
Mm-hmm.
before you know it, that rascal has boiled himself to death, but he didn't realize it because the water wasn't hot. Well, our water is already hot. And
Yeah.
we're still not doing anything about it because we don't want to work together. And I'm saying we just can't be talkers, Chaz, but we have to be problem solvers.
And I was going to say, too, I think we have a bad part. And sometimes I do this as well, where we'll talk about something and it sounds good. It feels good all in that moment. And we actually are hyped to actually make change. But sometimes after those conversations die or after we get done talking on the phone or doing emails, we just kind of like, when we're not hype anymore, we kind of stop. We just forget about it. We don't do it. So basically, we get caught up in the moment. And then as that email or whatever is done, we just stop pursuing it. And that's a thing we have to actually think about as well, finishing it after the conversations or email.
Well said, Chaz. Well said.
Brother Kevin is in the building. He says on point, Chaz. Appreciate you, Brother Kevin, for logging in.
Yeah, because this is we also need, like he's encouraging us You know, we need encouragers. We don't need people to unplug what we're doing. We need people to plug into it and also talk about some things that we can do, because we're very complacent. And that's one of the issues that we have. We don't like to do what's going to help us, as we see our necks are being crushed. We see the Europeans' foot on our necks. And so at this time, you would think that we would band together, because there's so many disparities that we have that we're facing. And that's what we have to do, is combat the complacency.
Absolutely. Number 6, start speaking the language of change and improvement. Actually telling yourselves, you know what, I am going to change the situation, or we can change it, instead of that whole defeatist mindset of, oh, we can't do nothing, oh, this ain't gonna never change, or actually talking down about the situation. Lift yourself up, give yourself encouragement. You got to put some pep in your step and get this thing going, because if you're constantly sitting around depressed, angry, sad, you're not going to get anywhere. So I think the language should be fiery and empowerment, instead of that old negative talk and just down in the dump kind of talk.
That's so true, Chazz, because the language of change and improvement, you see, we don't just want to change, but we want to improve. See, that's what the whole bottom line is. We have to have a language of positivity. If we're not talking about the change that's necessary, and the reason that it's necessary is because of what we're facing with right now. We are dealing with so much. Look at our healthcare inequalities, how racial disparities in the medical department, medical treatment. We don't have access to those things that we need. Our elderly, our senior citizens, our middle-aged people, we're struggling, but we're sitting around and not even dealing with that. We don't want to do what we have to do to help ourselves. And this is why we're in the situation we're in. So we want to challenge everyone and encourage us that we all have to speak the same language. We need to look at our higher maternal mortality rates for Black women. Did you not know that Black women that are having children are dying at an abundant rate, more than any other race of people? So that has to do with healthcare. And last but not least, you know, the environmental racism. In other words, there's lead, there's poisoning, there's poor air quality. All that is affecting us and our children and our grandchildren. And I think we have to sound the alarm to let people know we can no longer be complacent. We must take aim to do something about the condition that we find ourselves in.
Number 7, we talked about this one a lot. Don't expect everyone who looks like you to be for you. That's absolutely said. Now,
what do you mean? What you mean by that, Chad? What do you mean by that?
Just because a man or woman is Black, they may talk good talk, they may sound good, smell good, talk good. That doesn't mean that they're for you. In fact, they could be doing stuff underhanded to screw you over. Now, I don't like bringing our business out, but we had some situations a few years ago with a guy that we tried to get some information from, and you send money to the man, he doesn't respond, things like that. And this is a Black man. He was talking the way we were talking, feeding it to our ego, feeding it to our pride, telling us all we want to hear. And this dude was, and we were saying this in the background, oh, this man is for us. We looking for a man or a brother like him. All of a sudden, he was just a scam artist. So you, not everybody, because then we twist and take it elsewhere, but you have to understand, every man or woman that looks like you, they may talk a good game, but 9 times out of 10, they may not be for you, is the point.
Yeah. And my good brother Kevin Lewis and I, we've done a broadcast about this. By the way, we'll come back within the next 2 weeks, but it's going to be the first Tuesday of next month. But we talked about how just because we look the same pigmentation wise, and we're all got our fist up saying Black power and all that doesn't mean that everybody's for us. Now, there are some people that are for us, but there are many that's not. And that was the mistake that I made growing up. I was so naive. You know, I was so impressionable because I kept thinking that everybody that looked like me, they were for me because they were saying the same thing I was saying. But when I really got in the saddle, I realized that a lot of people that look like me, they're just hot air. And this is why a lot of us are complacent, and we can't be complacent like that.
Brother Kevin fires in here. He says, laugh all out. Exactly. We are born in hot water, comfortable in it. Absolutely. Whoa. We are. Since we're children or middle schoolers, we grow up in this stuff, all this pressure, all this drama, all this chaos. And then we get to a point to, like he said, we think it as a casual day of life. We get comfortable with it and we say, you know what? This is just how life's supposed to be. So let me try to make the best of it. And his comment is absolutely spot on. We appreciate it.
Especially the last part where he's saying we're comfortable in being complacent, you see. because a lot of us, we run our fat mouths, and all of us are included. But the point of it is many of us have gotten comfortable in our complacency. In other words, we're okay that we're being treated the way we're treated. We're okay that people are doing us any way they like. We're okay that our children are being miseducated. We're okay that our seniors are being duped and had and abused. No, we're okay. And so we've gotten comfortable, and that's a good challenge, because we should never be comfortable with our own demise, you see. And that goes to people like you and I and others who have to sound the alarm, and not just sound the alarm. We have to be willing to do something.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says, hey, we appreciate you, Brother Ray, for firing in here as well. Brother Kevin also says, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. That's absolutely right. And I really don't want to take it to this, but there was a mistake I think I made years ago, and we all voted for this guy because this is a prime example. We voted for a man who we thought looked like us. He dressed like us. He gave an inspirational speech when he won the presidency. But when you go back, and all presidents do have issues, I get that. But when you look at all the money that he gave to some of these big businesses that screwed us over, these are things, and this is a person that I'm not going to call his name, but you do the math here. This is a person that fits this narrative. He looked like us. He dressed like us. His pigmentation looked like us. But at the end of the day, he wasn't for us. And I think that was a hard pill for a lot of us to swallow growing up at that time, in that period.
And that's such a immature mindset. And we all have been, I guess, bitten by it, because we've always looked at people that look like us to be for us. And that's one of the things that we have to learn. We're really in this battle for ourselves. No one's going to come from the sky and save us. No one's going to come anywhere and help us. We're going to have to do this ourselves. And we know this to be true, but this is something that is important, Chazz. And we definitely have to talk about that.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says, some black people hate themselves and all the rest of the black people. Some black folks live in a victim culture. Yeah, we do that a lot. We always blame it. It's always the other person's fault. It's her fault, his fault. And sometimes it is their fault, but sometimes it's our fault. Sometimes we're the one pushing the button. And then when they bite us, we get angry and call them out, when it's like, no, everybody's not against you. The world doesn't hate you. And I see these quotes on YouTube all the time. People talking about being chosen and all this nonsense. This is foolishness.
Oh man, come on, Chad. This is all these people. You hear me now?
You're coming in and out.
Okay, what about now? Am I in, out?
In.
Okay, so you're right, because this is a mindset that has been created, you see. This mindset has been created, you understand? And because it's been created and we haven't done something about it, and I want to challenge all of us. Complacency is a terrible thing. See, as Brother Kevin said, we think it's lighthearted. We think it's something that's not big. This is a serious issue, you see. And this is why some people hate themselves, because we've been taught to hate ourselves. And just like Malcolm X and our other brothers said back in the day, they talked about how you have to learn to love yourself. And when we love ourselves, we're going to do something that's going to be very positive for our people. And even if it's just a group of people, we're not going to do it for all the African Americans and blacks in the world, because a lot of them don't want it. Them the ones that's going to hurt us. So again, we have to make sure that we're on the same page. The small people that we have, the few that we have, that is something that we need to all look at.
Number 8, don't allow complacency to be your convenience. I'll let you take this and I'll piggyback off of it.
Yeah, I mean, we're on the same page, because again, we can get comfortable, as that seemed to be a good theme today. We can get comfortable in our complacency. See, we can think that because we've been going through so much all these years, like you mentioned earlier, nothing is going to happen, so we have nothing to do. Or we'll talk a lot about a situation, but we'll never do anything about it. Or we'll talk when we're doing our Facebook or our YouTube page. We'll talk, but then when we get live, we won't say that. We won't say that to people in their faces. See, we won't stand up to a group of people and let them know that the reason we're in the condition we're in is not just because of us, because it's because a group of people who race for all the resources, land, wealth, and minerals. And once they got that, they use that to stomp and to choke another people's livelihood out, and that's where we are. But we so complacent. And back in the day, there were men used to always, in the 60s and 50s, we didn't have much, but a lot of men stood up against injustices. But it seemed like nowadays a lot of us just want to watch football, basketball, baseball, boxing, hockey, soccer, listen to music, smoke blunts, drink beer, talk crazy, and critique us, and that's a problem.
And I want to touch on that real quick. You were talking about back in the day, how a lot of us, it did seem like a lot of brothers back then were fighters. I don't know, like I said, not fighting literally like fighting with punches, but I'm saying fighting with going back and forth, exchanging mindsets. I don't know if it has something to do with, like you said, the poor air quality or the water, but now I think a lot of us are getting complacent because it's just like we look at it as an uphill battle. We can't win, so we say, you know what? This ain't my fight, whatever. My family is doing somewhat okay. And you know what? I don't really have the patience to be fighting this. I'll leave that to them young boys. That's what a lot of us are saying. And I think that's a terrible mindset to have. But it does seem like back in the day, we had more people who would push the envelope instead of now. We just, like you said, complacent and not doing much.
Well, I think we're leaving out something that's crucial. And if we don't get done with these points, we'll come back next week, Chazz. But I think we're leaving out something crucial. And here it is. You mentioned it last week, but I must revisit it now, or the week before last. The Stockholm Syndrome. The Stockholm Syndrome is where most of us are today. We have fallen in love with those who oppress us. And because we love them so much, we don't feel that we need to do anything to change. We're comfortable in our condition. We're comfortable in our wretched condition. We're comfortable in our pitiful condition. We think this is normal. We think this is the norm for us. So we don't see a problem with it. So we don't set challenges, as this point is saying. We don't challenge ourselves. We don't want to be active. We're afraid to sit down and come up with something that's simple as in our own community, doing something for the elderly. See, we talk about it, but we don't be about it. So we don't even set challenges. And this is why we're trying to encourage our brothers and sisters, is that complacency is not a good thing, Chazz. It's a bad thing. And we have to acknowledge it and don't play with it, because it's a monster. And it's terrible, man. It's terrible.
Yeah. Number 10, always always have a liberation mindset for your people. Absolutely. You want to liberate the people, give them something to look forward to, give them something positive. And you don't have to, like I said, doing it in a evil or rude way, but you could just try to motivate the people, make them understand and let them see your vision. You got to actually not swindle them, but make them see your vision, make them see what can happen. Sometimes you have to show people and give them a good enough vision for them to believe it, is for them to get along with you. And then you can grow others and then spread the word and other people tag along with you. But you have to have a powerful mindset for these people to get behind you.
You're right, because the key word is liberation. And I would ask everyone that's watching this broadcast, as I ask myself and you, don't you want to be free? Don't you want to be free mentally? You would never be free in a system of racism, bigotry, sexism, and all of that. But I mean, don't you want to be free mentally, where you can think positively so that you can make changes, even if you die in the process of trying? Don't you want to be free? Don't you want your children to be free? Don't I want my grandchildren to be free? Don't I want my relatives to be free? So we got to have that mindset of, we need to be free from this country when it comes to those vices that they have on us, the political vice, the educational vice. All of those vices are just crushing us. And you would think that we would say, I don't want this. I really don't want this. But unfortunately, many of us don't think this is serious. We play too much. Everything, as I said earlier, everything is a joke. Everything is funny. Everything is foolish. Everything is nonsensical. That's why the comedians, and I have nothing against my dear brothers and sisters who are comedians, but that's why they gain a lot of traction during this kind of time. People want to hear something funny. People want to laugh because they want to take away their responsibilities and what we really should be doing. And so that's why I think it's important, Chazz. So again, let's continue to talk about this. Let's see what we have in the comment section here.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says, that's why I'm not too quick to forgive and forget, because I'm not turning my cheek. I'll turn your cheek and shame on you on the first time. After that, shame on me. Okay, I see what he's saying. Sister Barbara fires in here. She says, Hotep Kings, we appreciate her. Uh, Brother Kevin fires in here. He says, we are subconsciously chasing their status and looking for acceptance from them. Absolutely. And that even has been going on since decades and decades ago, where we're constantly trying to look like them. We're constantly taking on their ideologies. We really forget where we come from. And like he said, we're constantly trying to be like them instead of trying to be like ourselves.
That's very problematic. He's right. That's very problematic. But see, again, Chazz, you know, these viewers that we have tonight, they're hitting the heart of what's really going on. See, they're not playing around. See, a lot of us back in the day, we called it PFing, but whoever is listening to this, they know what that stands for when you say we PFing around. But see, they're hitting the heart of it. Subconsciously, we're weak. Subconsciously, we're sick. We need to be healed internally. And that comes from knowing who you are, loving who you are, knowing your culture, demonstrating what your ancestors did, and making sure that no matter what you do, it's going to be a great sacrifice. And so we have to make sure that we've got to stop wanting them to we want them to love us, you see. And that's why you don't hear a lot of this kind of language.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says, we're not trying to destroy system racism. We just want a better position in systemic racism.
Yeah, he's right. We've accepted as long as we can rub shoulders with them, as they say. And even though they're treating us like crap, even though they're giving us the crappy jobs and all of that, we're okay. Because as long as we can rub shoulders with them and smile in their faces and make everyone think that we're we're just good people, we this is where we've gone to, and that's problematic.
Sister Barbara fires in here. She says, "Speak, Brother Coleman." Okay, she's agreeing with the people in here. Brother Kevin fires in here. He says, "Joking has been the Novocaine for the Black community." Yeah.
We and as men, and if you think about your school days, as I think about mine, way back in the day, we always used to call joning on somebody, laughing jokes, talking about people's mother and all that stuff. And that was fine. But now we're older now, and when you get older, you would think that we would make sure that comedy should be put in its place. There's nothing wrong with it, but it should be put in its place. But now it's like he said. This makes us feel high. And as long as we can watch somebody talk about us that looks like us on a stage, talking about our grandparents, talking about our parents, talking about our people that have special needs, talking about our youth, talking about silly things about what's going on in the world of sports, and not looking at what they're doing to us. It's like the Pied Piper, that played the pipe and everybody followed them until their own demise. So this is what's going on because we play to, and again, there's nothing wrong with a joke here or there. Life humor is great, but we forget that complacency is what happens when we keep doing this over and over ad nauseum.
Brother Ray Coleman fires in here. He says escapism. Yeah, I talked about that earlier, and I want to back to Brother Kevin's comment, touch on that too. He was spot on, and that was even in my days growing up, middle school, high school, in the Black community. There was some Blacks in the school, and everybody knows this. In all schools, there's Blacks that who's going to sit together at the cafeteria table, Joan, like you said, for an hour. And in fact, it got so bad that the principal and stuff have to separate certain students because they know when these two students get together, they're going to be loud in class, cut on each other for 2 or 3 hours. It's crazy. In the Black community, it's like this is what we look forward to. And it is sad, though. It really is. Brother Kevin fires in here again. He says, we joke, we drink away the pain. Club, dance, chase entertainment. Anything will come to the table with solutions. That's I don't have anything else to say. That was spot on with that.
It really is, and we've often talked about that. This brother is hitting so hard tonight. We may have to have him on as a special guest because he's a straight shooter. He's not going to play with it. He's going to make sure that this thing is done straight down the middle, and that's the kind of men and women that we need today. Not these. I almost said something, but I better be careful because I don't want us to get off the air. But not these people, not these people who talk loud behind closed doors. But then when they get out in public, they won't say anything. See,
Yeah.
So he's right. As long as we're joking, as long as we're drinking, and as long as we're dancing, as long as we're listening to music, as long as we're chasing entertainment, as long as we're arguing about who's the GOAT, as long as we're doing nonsensical things, we still continue to be complacent. And that's very, very, as I keep saying all night, problematic.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says, my superpower is me not caring about who doesn't like me. People will dislike you for no reason on not vibrating with you. I'm cool with not being liked. I won't even dislike you over that. As long as you stay in your lane. Absolutely. And as long as you don't disrespect me either, or you, Brother Ray, because a lot of us, we may not always see eye to eye, but in this world, sometimes when you don't agree, sometimes people take that and then they try to take it a step further and they try to disrespect you. So that was a spot on comment by Brother Ray. We appreciate that one as well. Number 11, hold yourself accountable. Ask yourself, am I doing all that I can to help the situation? Absolutely. And we all are in this spot where we do say a lot of things, but if we think about it, a lot of us, myself included, we're not doing enough.
Come on, Chazz. Come on, man.
We're not, excuse me, we're not doing enough. We're sitting back, we're watching tutorial videos on YouTube and BitChute and Rumble and all these accounts all day, but we're not actually putting any action into it, and myself is included. We have to actually hold ourselves accountable and say, you know what? For this whole week, I said I was going to do this. I didn't do that. Let me get my butt up out of here and actually start putting my feet to the ground and actually doing it. But yes, holding ourselves accountable, it is something that we must do, brother. We have to.
And this is why we're so complacent, because we haven't held ourselves accountable. We don't ask ourselves these kind of questions. We always ask ourselves the little rhyme, the little nursery rhyme when we get up in the morning. If it's a woman or a man, we look in the mirror and we say, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? See, this is how we think. So we leave that day thinking that we're all that in a bag of chips, but we don't hold ourselves accountable to say, am I doing all that I can do to help our situation? And if I'm not, what should I and what can I do to help the situation? And if we're honest with ourselves, we will be able to come up with something basic, that we can do that's going to help our situation. And then we won't have to worry about always belly aching and crying and complaining, because we have the power to do some things. Yeah. We have the power to do a lot of things. But again, when you have people who don't like to challenge themselves, now we'll challenge each other. I'll challenge you. You'll challenge me. We'll go, toe to toe with each other, but we won't stop and say, hold on for a second. What can I do? Yeah. What can I do to better my situation?
Yeah. Brother Ray fires in here. He says, nowadays people play disrespectfully, and I hate that passive aggression.
Yeah, and we do. And he's just kind of going on to what we're saying. And this is something that I think we need to discuss too, Chazz, about complacency.
Don't allow criticism to stop your progress in helping us. Absolutely. And let me say something here about this criticism.
Okay.
Every time you get criticized, that doesn't mean that people are hating. We have to stop that. Because I hear this a lot. And sometimes the criticism is fair. Now, I don't agree with the negative criticism where you're just degrading a man, talking about him from head to toe. I'm not talking about that. But if you're doing something, a project, and you're not doing something correctly, or that person says, hey, I think you should do it this way, this is a little bit better, that doesn't mean that he or she is hating on you. And we talked about this earlier, that victim mindset of always thinking that somebody's out to get you. We have to stop thinking that criticism always means that somebody is hating. And when you are getting criticized, say, you know what? Is this man or woman telling the truth? If the answer is yes, say, you know what? Let me put my selfish pride aside, put this in my tool bag and use it, and say, you know what I was doing was wrong, but I'm going to use this information to help me become better, because once again, and I'm going to pass it to you, not everybody that criticizes you is hating on you. We got to stop that.
How to combat complacency in the African American community, part 2. This is how you do it. Look at the point on this board, and it says, don't allow criticism to stop your progress in helping us. See, we start, I'm going to do something, and when someone criticizes me, oh, Ja, you ought to cut that out, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm so bitter. See, I'm so butthurt. Now I don't want to do anything because I'm criticized. People have criticized us as a people since we've come or been gangstered over on these shores. Criticism should not stop you. In fact, it should help us go stronger. Now, all that ad hominems, all those ad hominems where we attack the person. See, we get caught up to where when they start attacking the person, then that person attacks them back, as opposed to staying on the game plan, being disciplined and making sure that we do what we're supposed to do. We get so off track. Our children are dying, man. Our children are struggling right now. Do you not know that from the ages of 15 to 19, we are leading in the most suicides in the United States of America? So our kids, our young kids are killing themselves because they have no hope. Because of people like me who won't talk to them because I'm too busy doing things. I won't take time out and sit down and let them know that I can't be complacent. I have to spend time with them, you see. I have to make sure that I represent them well and they represent me well, and that we don't have a generation gap. There's no such thing. We're all being dealt with when it comes to racism and bigotry and all of that. So again, Chazz, I hate to go on that little tangent there right there, but we got to stop allowing criticism. If you're doing something and I criticize you, even if it's constructive, instead of you saying, I'm going to keep doing it. I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah, I ain't going to let them ends. I ain't going to let them ends. Them ends going to stop. We can't have that attitude, man.
Yeah, and that's what I touched on a little bit earlier. And that's sad that you just touched upon on the side note about the teenager, 15 to 19. I didn't know that it was that high that they were doing that to themselves.
Yeah, they're killing themselves, man. Yeah, they have no hope. And because of people like us who don't even make time for them. See, we don't make time for
them. Brother Kevin fires in here. He says critical thinking.
Yeah, he's right. And it all boils down to how the mind works. So we have to use what he says, critical thinking. We have to add into that as well. We got analytical thinking. You see, we have linear thinking. We have all different types of thinking modes. But the critical thinking is important because at that point, we're going to know that there's something that I have to do. And I'm going to be critical, and I'm going to make sure that I don't allow anything to stop me from doing what I'm supposed to do.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says, black on black envy. Yeah, we got to stop that hating on each other and treating each other bad as blacks. Brother Kevin fires in here. He says, they like to say, you hating.
Yeah, they do.
I said that.
Yeah, that's all they say. And that'll make us stop doing what we're doing. When people say that, well, they hating on me. I see you say, if you say, Ja, when we gonna do the next broadcast? I ain't gonna do it. You say, what's wrong? What's wrong, Ja? Oh, Chazz, man, they hating on me. I ain't gonna do it anymore. See, this is what wusses do. And I wish, again, I don't want to get kicked off the air, but I'm so close to saying some words that's, they're R-rated, but I don't want to do that. But they're wusses. And you know what I mean? They're wusses. We can't take criticism, but all along, these kids and our grandparents and even us ourselves, we're struggling big time, man. We negative stereotypes in the news and entertainment. We're always shucking and jiving, cultural appropriations without recognizing the benefit of loving who we are and our people, celebrating everyone else's so-called holidays, and won't give two hoots to Juneteenth or Black History Month or Malcolm X's birthday or Shirley Chisholm's birthday. We have to look at this inequality in our housing, Chazz. Our older people and even us, we're struggling big time. So what are we going to do about it?
Sister Barbara fires in here. She says, I appreciate the knowledge, brothers. Keep spitting with the fist emoji. Brother Ray fires in here. He says, black folks think disagreeing should be hostile and disrespectfully combative. Yeah, and we have to stop that. And I want to just touch on this real quick. If you don't agree with what I agree with, we should be able to be, as grown men or grown women, sit down and say, you know what, brother or sister, that wasn't right. This is what I think X, Y, Z. But to sit up, stand over a man, cuss him out, cuss her out, get ready to fight. That's just, and I don't know how it got to that, but back in the day, it used to be more civil. But now, like he said, Brother Ray is in here in the comment section saying, you know what, this thing is getting so out of control where it's just utterly disrespect. And we have to learn how to disagree with people without being so violent and negative and ready to fight. His comment was spot on. Number 13. Know what is hindering us as a people and apply practical ways to solve those problems. Yeah, absolutely.
No, Chazz,
I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, because I could go on and on about the issues, but I want to do something about them, like gentrification. These are things that should be on our voices. These things should be in our hearts. Gentrification. They're kicking our people out of the homes that they had ever since they were young. They're throwing our elderly on the streets. Now, people might say, well, Jahi, that's hyperbolic. I almost said that's hyper hell. That's the truth, man. They're doing us any kind of way. They're making these kids dope addicts in schools. They're giving them Ritalin. They're giving them all these drugs. And so when they get older, they just ready to take drugs because these schools are giving them all these psychotropic meds, and they're messing our little boys up and messing our little girls up. And we're sitting around watching somebody throw a football as opposed to saying, what are we going to do about this? What is hindering us as a people? You should know. I should know. Everybody watching this broadcast knows. But what are we going to do about it? Because we definitely have to realize that we are being displaced. We're displaced in the idiocy. As I said earlier, there is no word to speak of the barbarity, the cruelty, the insensitivity, any other words you want to use that's going on in the so-called White House. The stuff that's going on in Washington, D.C. ought to make a brass monkey want to do something. But again, we complain about it, but we're not doing anything about it. These are the most vicious. These are the most cruel. These are the most barbarics. These people, man, are some of the worst people that the world has ever seen. And we're living amongst them now. And again, Chazz, I just have to say that because it's affecting us, man.
Yeah, it really is. And I was just going to take it a step further when we say adding practical ways. And this is something I think that we should know, but especially for us blacks, men and women. You get pulled over by the police. I don't care if you weren't doing nothing wrong. I don't care if you were innocent. You had your music blasting or whatever. Roll the window down. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am, officer. I apologize for what I'm doing. When they ask to see your license, sir, ma'am, I'm going into my glove compartment to get my license, or I'm going to get my insurance. Comply with the officer. Don't sit back and go back and forth, because this is ways how this hinders us. And then and I don't agree with this, but when they fire or they kill us, they blow our brains out on national TV, our parents and grandparents sitting there crying instead of saying, you know what? Our grandson or granddaughter or whoever, they should have been more respectful to the police, even though there are times where they are respectful, and it still happens anyway. But there are times to where we push the envelope. Oh, you pig, what you pulling me over for? Or this and that. Comply with the people, and 9 times out of 10, hopefully nothing goes wrong when you get stopped by the police as a black man or woman.
How to combat complacency in the African American community. What do we do about the problems that are pressing right now? Not the problems that's going to come, not the problems that have come in the past. What we're facing right now is a Holocaust. It's a total genocide. And I'm getting excited, y'all, because it's really happening. And I mean, we have to shake and sound the alarm. This point says, know what is hindering us as a people. We are struggling with so much, even when I think about the mental health that we're dealing with and the trauma. We have limited access to Black mental health professionals. A lot of us are screwed up mentally. We have a stigma around therapy and mental health treatment. We don't want to go. We don't think there's anything wrong with us. And the effects of generational trauma from slavery and segregation, Jim Crow, and I can go on and on. But what I'm trying to say with a loving heart is this. We are going to have to pool our resources together, our minds, everything we have, and combat this complacency, because these people have not ever played with us, but right now they are doing us in. And I think we're just like that frog that was sitting in that pot that I told you about that was boiled until he boiled to death. And also we're like what Bootsy Collins said. We're like hound dogs. We're nothing. I didn't say we were hound dogs. Let somebody get hurt and don't want to watch the broadcast. And I'm not politically correct. I said we are acting like hound dogs, crying all the time, always crying and not doing anything about it.
Well said. Absolutely well said. Brother Ray fires in here. He says, everyone over 25 that is black should know some solutions. Yeah, we should. All of us. I would say a little bit younger than that. 25 and I would say even 18 and up should know some solutions. Then he comes back again and fires in here. He says, only a fool agrees with everything. You got to do your own investigation and do your own research as well. He fires back again and he says, black folks think disagreeing should be hostile. No, we already read that one. Read that one. Now, this one is new. Brother Kevin fires in here. He says, our problems are many. Our solutions are both single and complex. Everyone has something they can do. Some can do this while others can do that. Because my work or efforts look different, it doesn't mean they're frivolous. If you're busy doing you, you wouldn't be so caught up in everything wrong with my efforts.
Yeah,
I'll let you
that's true.
take that one. That was
Yeah,
well said.
because I mean, when you break it down, he's basically saying what we're saying in words that kind of express what's really going on today. Everybody can do something.
Yeah.
What you do, I may not do, and what you do, I'm not going to fight with you because what you're doing is trying to help out, and what you're doing, it isn't frivolous, and what I'm doing, it isn't frivolous. But together, man, together we can do some things that's going to stop the complacency. Men, women, young men, young women, boys, girls, and let's not have that attitude that when we get to a certain age, we retired. That's the problem right there. We talked about that last week. When some of us get to a certain age, we say, that's for them young folk. Well, if a police officer pulls you over and you get smart with that police officer, I don't care how old you are, they're going to put that stick upside your head or tase you or even kill you. So that we never retire. We may retire from a job, but racism doesn't say when you get to a certain age, I'm gonna stop messing with you. See, bigotry doesn't say that. So again, man, we've got to, Chazz. We've got to be honest about the situation.
Sister Barbara fires in here. She says, "Spit, big brother." Okay. Brother Ray fires in here. He says, "Or take the cop on a high speed chase. Keep turning left on the corner." Sister Barbara fires back in here. She says, "It's sad that the majority of us has lost unity and don't give a damn. Wow. We shouldn't have been there. We should have been there with our ancestors, what they came from and through, yet have risen. Why not?" Yeah, a lot of us, she's right. I'll just touch on some of that. She's right. A lot of us, we have lost unity. It's so much chaos. It's so much confusion. There's so much frustration. There's so much anger. Unity is the farthest thing from our mind. In fact, some of us don't even know how to. We've been so much in chaos and bondage for so long. I don't even think some of us know what unity is. That's
Wow.
how bad we've been down with all this anger and frustration. And this is serious. When the sister said she thinks that we've lost unity, and at that point, when a group of people have lost unity, you know what the opposite of unity is, and you don't want to be living like that for the rest of your life. And I'm hoping somebody can bring some unity back. But spot on from the sister's comment. We appreciate that.
Yeah, tonight's broadcast is about how to combat complacency, not in other people's communities, but in our communities, in our lives, in our homes, in our places of abode. The African American community, which we're part of, is got so much going up against us now. And we have to have these kinds of discussions, Chaz. We have to have these serious discussions that's talking about what can we do. Someone, even today, practically, someone can say, I'm going to start doing something practical that I'm going to help my people. Even if it's something is checking on my neighbor because I know my neighbor is an elderly person and they don't have family to come by, even if it's asking them, can I take you to the store? Can I go to the store for you? Can I cook for you? Things like that for the elderly. Talking to the youth, the young men and young women who are struggling today. See, complacency has done us in. Now, next week when we come back, Chaz, we're going to pick it up where we're going to be talking about getting rid of some mindsets. We'll talk about a lot of the mindsets that we have that we must get rid of if we're not going to be complacent, because we have a certain mindset, and that mindset is many mindsets, but those mindsets are really stopping us from doing what we're supposed to do. So let's pick it up next week on getting rid of the following mindsets. Okay, that's how we're going to start. We'll start with this point right here. Get rid of the following mindsets, and then we'll talk about those mindsets. But we have a few comments, and then we'll get off the air here. So let's see if this is it here.
Brother Ray fires in here. He says, when Black Lives Matter to Black people, many of these issues will be done. Yeah, when we
Wow.
start taking this stuff serious, and we start looking at each other, holding people accountable, and say, you know what, our lives do matter. Let's actually put something together and actually try to stop some of this nonsense. So yeah, when these things matter for Blacks, we will start to take them seriously, I'm hoping. And then Brother Kevin fires in here. He says unity is the, can't see that word there.
Occam's razor for our success. Yeah.
What does that word mean? I'm not familiar with it.
It's a concept that says whenever something happens, you basically take the part that's noticeable. In other words, don't start adding all this stuff to it. Okay. And it has stopped us. And so that unity is what we need for success. See, it's got to be practical, and that's basic. And that's why I'm really enjoying this broadcast. But we only have a few minutes left, Chazz. But I want to get to some more comments. But these people that are commenting, our brothers and sisters, our friends, our loved ones, they're just nailing it tonight. And I like that we can have this kind of discussion where people are serious and bringing all kinds of truth to what we're talking about when it comes to complacency in the African American community.
Sister Mashana in here. She says, we have been in the chase for so long. I think a lot of us have given up and accepted things the way that they are. Sad but true. Yeah. That's spot on. I do think a lot of us have accepted the way things are, and we just really just given up. Brother Ray Fires in here. He says, black love and black respect within. Absolutely. You got to love yourself, and within you have to speak to yourself and teach yourself all these things. I don't know what happened. I think the brother accidentally dropped off, or maybe his phone died on him or something like that. But if I'm still live, we appreciate everybody. Okay, there he is.
Yeah, hey,
you playing games, man?
No, man. They trying to stop us, man. Now, what this brother Raymond is saying something here. Let's go back here, Kev, because Kev put something in here that we need to look at. He says something about Occam's razor.
Okay, he says Occam's razor, peeling back and getting to the front.
Yeah, getting to the core, getting to the basics, getting to what's really going on. But now Ray says something too right here.
He says Occam's razor means to cut away what doesn't matter. Okay. See, that's a good thing. They taught me a new word. I didn't know what that word meant until today, Kevin and Ray. I appreciate that.
So we're getting down to the nitty gritty, man. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. And I think it's time for us to be honest about the complacency that we have in our lives. Now, you all who have been watching this broadcast, you know when you hear that music that we're signing off, but we also have a soliloquy when we sign off. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for watching this broadcast, all those who tuned in with those comments, all the, just getting down to the nitty gritty of why we are complacent and how to combat complacency in the African American community, part 2. We'll pick part 3 up next week. We just want to say we truly appreciate you watching this broadcast. And we really love the idea that you're willing to sit with us for an hour every Wednesday from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock Central Standard Time and 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock on the East Coast. Chazz, I appreciate this broadcast. I think we should continue to talk about complacency because that is something that's not going to go away. So we're going to have to continue to encourage people and let people know that we're going to have to be willing to do something about our present condition. I keep saying this, and I'll say it till I leave this earth. No one is going to help us. No one is coming to save us. It's on us to do it. Us men, the women, our sisters, the brothers, the youth, all of us together has to join in and make sure that we allow people to know that we're not going to take it any longer because we've been taking it for too long. And so again, we say to all those who watch this broadcast, I'm going to let Chazz get the last soliloquy. I want to say Shem Hotep to all of those who have watched the broadcast, Sister Mashonda and Sister Zuri. They both sign off by telling us Shem Hotep rose. That means, for those who don't know, in ancient Egypt, that's a peace that they're saying they want us to have. It's a different kind of peace. It's not just a peace from war. It's an internal peace. And then Sister Barbara says, awesome. So Chazz, I'm going to give you the honor to close this thing out. And so I'll see you next week. But I'm out of here. I'm going to let you take us home. So go ahead and do your thing.
Once again, we appreciate everybody who viewed the broadcast tonight. It was an interesting broadcast about how to combat complacency. We all are we should be holding ourselves accountable for some of the things that we're not doing, myself included. There's some things that I need to get off my behind and do in the community with the young men, with the young sisters, giving them hope, wisdom, try to give them words of encouragement, and how to not be always having the victim mindset. When we get in these situations, and we think that people are against us when they're not. Some of the times they're not. And we have to figure out and say, you know what? There's a lot going on. What else can I do to help make this a better state or country? What can I do to make this better for the people who are of my skin color? Pretty much, and that's it. That's all I have to say. I hope you guys tune back in next week. Once again, we thank all the viewers for coming on. And once again, remember to hold yourself accountable and try to do something about it. Take care, everybody.